Of course, Ray has a solid reason for doing this. You see, when it rains, everyone shelters inside their homes to avoid it. They believe that even a single drop of black rain touching you is enough to make you sick. However, Ray knows he can shield himself from the rain, making things easier for him. Once he reaches 18th Street, also known as Limpfoot Hector's Ration Warehouse, he sees the thugs inside having the time of their lives, playing and gambling. It's clear that Ray knew these idiots would be gambling on a rainy day, which is why he chose today to make his move. Since no one guards the warehouse on rainy days, it gives Ray the perfect opportunity to sneak inside. The place is completely dark, but Ray has a solution for that. Since the air is filled with an abundance of mana with hundreds of colors, Ray begins drawing in specific colors of mana, mixing them according to the right formula, and ignites fire in the palm of his hands. Although he doesn't know the exact principles of magic, he can use it just fine. Still, controlling red mana is a bit harder for some reason. With the light from the fire, Ray starts checking the supply boxes. As he goes through the supplies, a dagger suddenly whizzes by. It's so close it grazes his ear. It seems his presence has been noticed by the bastards inside, and they don't like the idea of some rat trying to steal their rations under their noses. Turns out, these bastards were hiding behind a pillar from the start, almost as if they were expecting Ray to show up. There are 3 of them in total, and they seem to know exactly where Ray is hiding. What's even more concerning for Ray is that he didn't expect these bastards to be equipped with night vision goggles. They throw their daggers again at Ray, but he dashes down, dodging them left and right. Seeing this, the goons with the night vision goggles are baffled. To think that a kid could dodge those daggers in this pitch-black place is just insane. The other goons berate their fellow to aim properly next time, but the poor guy gets rocked with a punch from Ray before he can even throw his dagger again. At this point, they're all bewildered at how this kid can see them in the dark. What they don't know is that Ray can easily see the color of their vessels. Right now, their vessels are glowing dark red because of the rage building inside them. One of them launches another dagger with all his strength, but Ray is already ready to dodge the oncoming strike. By reading the flow of mana from the vessel through the arteries, Ray can predict and easily dodge the blow. Once he dodges, he follows up with a kick to the guy's neck. With 2 of them down, only one remains, but the last one also gets a solid punch to his guts for his troubles. And that's how the 3 of these suckers end up face first on the ground. This is when another bastard barges into the warehouse. This one sounds trouble, because as far as Ray can recall, this guy is Humphrey, the Hector Group's executive. The bald bastard is disappointed to see all 3 of his men kissing the dirt. And what's really tweaking him out is the fact that they were wrecked by a rat. Even Ray doesn't want to mess with this guy, so he pulls his hoodie back over his face and decides it's time to get out of there. He quickly dashes and tries to strike the bastard across the chest to move him away from the entrance. But that punch Ray lands is barely more than a minor inconvenience to this bastard. In return, he tries to grab Ray by his head, but Ray ducks backward just in time, barely escaping. The bald bastard then follows up with a punch that sends Ray skidding across the floor. The bald bastard acknowledges that Ray indeed has some solid reflexes for a kid his age. Meanwhile, Ray internalizes that this guy is packing some serious power. The bald bastard starts throwing punch after punch, but Ray manages to dodge them all, moving left and right with ease. While Ray might be able to dodge, he knows he can't keep it up forever. He needs to figure out something before he gets knocked out. That's when he notices a gap in the bastard's defense, and quickly strikes his chest. As soon as his hand connects, he intensifies the fire in his palm. And that little moment of distraction is enough for Ray to vanish from the spot like he was never there. The other shitheads guarding the place quickly scatter around the warehouse, thinking that since that brat fought Humphrey, he won't be able to go far. Ray starts to feel concerned, because at this rate he's indeed going to get caught. But then he notices a stone and throws it to draw their attention away. Those goofy-ass shitheads take the bait and begin running in the opposite direction, while Ray makes his escape. He's finally succeeded in looting the infamous Hector Group's warehouse, but he knows he's dead if they catch him. Though Ray isn't afraid of dying, what he fears is that if he's not around, the kids won't last long in this unforgiving world. Suddenly, the bastards catch up to him, so Ray picks up his speed. But soon he finds himself facing a dead end. Now that he's cornered, the bastards pull out their weapons and tell him to come here and spit out what he stole before they start poking holes in his stomach. Since he doesn't see Humphrey around, Ray feels confident that he can win, so he starts charging some mana in his fists. One of the bastards charges at him, but Ray sidesteps and delivers a solid uppercut to the bastard. Then comes the other guy rushing, but Ray quickly grabs the bastard's dagger hand and produces some electricity, frying the bastard's head and leaving him down for the count. Suddenly, Ray hears more of these guys coming toward him. It looks like they won't stop pursuing him until he's caught, and Ray isn't sure if he can use his magic indefinitely. This is when he notices the garbage bin behind him and quickly takes refuge inside. The bastards also search the area, but they find no one other than a few of their companions, so they continue forward, determined to find him. They can't afford to lose him. With the rain pouring heavily, the footsteps start to fade, which means no matter what they do, Ray is confident they won't find him here. He decides to stay in the bin for the night because if they follow him to the bridge, the kids will be in danger as well. With that, he spends the entire night in that bin. The next day arrives, and he wakes up to the light seeping through the cracks. He hops out of the dustbin, but is immediately exposed by a bastard standing just outside the bin. Ray can tell just by the color of his vessel that this dude is absolutely angry, and our boy isn't sure if he can handle this bastard alone, given he hasn't fully recovered yet. The bastard finally lunges, trying to kill Ray. But that's when my guy also pulls a dagger of his own and swings it at the bastard. However, the bastard evades the attack and swings back at his opponent. While attempting to dodge the attack, Ray loses his balance and trips. This gives that bastard the perfect opportunity to deliver the final blow, but just before the shiny dagger reaches Ray's eye socket, someone shoots the bastard down, killing him on the spot. The bastard behind the trigger is another sassy guy who seems to already know about Ray. This guy is black-haired Niles, the 17th Street boss. He can't help but warn Ray about the dangerously close call he just had. If the gunshot was even delayed for a second, Ray would have been pushing up daisies. Ray, in response, questions him why he is here, since Niles is usually not awake this early. To which Niles says yes. He claims to have heard rumors that Hector's guys were on the prowl. He then notices the canned food Ray is hiding under his hoodie, and is sure that Ray must have swiped the haul under Hector's nose. For that, he can't help but call out our boy for his bold move. Ray in return reciprocates with a thanks, but Niles clarifies that it wasn't a compliment, so there's nothing to feel proud of. Internally, Ray is unsure how to handle Niles. Because people like Niles have emotions so monotonous that their vessels never really fill up, so he can't tell what this dude is even thinking. Niles, on the other hand, warns him to be careful, or else he'll die if he continues pulling stunts like this. There are people he should not be mingling with, and Ray should know better. But for our boy, endangering his life is still better than starving to death. Well, Niles has no room to argue about that, so he just reminds Ray that they're both equal now. Ray saved him once, and Niles in return saved Ray. But Ray claims that he never intended to save him. Ray merely mistook Niles for supplies when he was floating down the river. But still though, the blackhead still can't deny the fact that he ended up living because of this little brat. Still, as far as Ray remembers, he's already been repaid for the favor. In order to provide some context for what they're talking about, we transition a year back in time. There, Ray happened to pull Niles out of the river. Apparently, Niles used to be an executive of the 46th sector, but he was betrayed. Or at least, that's what Niles claims to have happened. Though Ray is sure it's not a lie, especially since Niles was the one who taught him lessons as a repayment for saving his life. This is when Ray brings up the important question. He asks Niles if he can join an organization. If he has to be specific, he wants to join Niles' organization. The only reason Ray wants to join the organization is to keep those kids safe. Niles does not give any immediate response. He just walks away from the scene and stands behind a wall. He then asks an unexpected question, asking Ray if he can use magic. Ray is shocked and questions him how he knows this much. To which Niles does not respond outwardly, but inwardly, he's very intrigued to realize his hunch is right on the money. Initially, he had seen Ray lighting up a fire without a lighter. Ray, on the other hand, continues to question him about how he knew he could use magic. Niles finally speaks, claiming that one fellow magician had told him that there is mana in the air, which is used for magic, and that there are only a handful of people who can detect and use mana. Ray then asks him if his fellow magician also mentioned something about colors, to which Niles does not remember any mention of colors, but his fellow magician did claim that mana is invisible and cannot be seen with the naked eye. This sparks Ray's curiosity even more, because he can clearly see these different types of colors in the air. Ray questions him once again, asking if he might be forgetting some crucial detail, but this only agitates Niles, as he believes he has already told Ray everything he knows, and at this point, Ray is just trying to push his buttons by asking the same thing over and over. Back to the topic at hand. Ray wants to know if his request to join the organization will be approved or not, to which Niles declines his request for some obvious reasons. When Ray inquires about the reason behind this blunt rejection, Niles once again gives Ray the silent treatment. In order to learn the real reason behind Niles' hesitation to take Ray into the organization, here's a bit of background. You see, all the sectors are along the Elton River. If you go up to the river, you'll arrive at other sectors, and you could probably escape the slums and find a better life there. So, Niles believes that it would be too much of a waste for a kid with such abilities to die here. Well, we now know the reason behind Niles' rejection, though he does not say this out loud to Ray. Instead, he simply asks Ray if the thought of leaving the 50th sector has ever crossed his mind. He even offers to help find him a car if he plans to leave this place. Ray, however, simply declines the proposition as he has kids to take care of. But Niles assures him that he is already planning to open an orphanage here, so Ray can leave the kids in his capable hands. He promises to give a better life and make sure they are not dying in the streets. Meanwhile, Ray can't figure out if this guy is bluffing or telling the truth, especially since his vessel color doesn't change at all. Though Ray is not doubting Niles, especially since this guy has always kept his word. Ray then warns Niles about Hector's group, because those guys seem to be preparing to start a war. Ray knows this for a fact because he had seen them receive truckloads of weapons.